Welcome to the Dana Grant Show, where heart-centered stories, authentic connections, real talk, and real action come together. I'm your host, Dana Grant. I'm a life coach, speaker, and believer in the boundless power within every one of us. Each week, we're diving into raw, transformative conversations that not only spark healing, but growth and unshakable clarity. Because you know what? Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard, and your purpose is waiting to be fully lived. You're in the right place. Let's begin. Welcome back to the Dana Grant Show, where I have a special guest in the house today, Amber Romaniuk, and she has gained and lost over 1,000 pounds. You heard that right? 1,000 pounds. You know, I think I might just add that up myself and see how much I've lost and gained. Hey, welcome to the show, Amber, but I'm going to say a little bit more before you say hello. She is an emotional eating, digestive, and hormone expert, and she's going to share her journey with us today. And she said, I could ask anything. So I wish this was a live show so you could all write in, but hopefully I cover it for you. Amber is in the house from Canada. Hey,
Thank,
hi.
thank you for having me, Dana. I'm so excited to be with you.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. I really, really love your energy already. And I
Likewise.
think I think this is such an important topic. I know that, and you probably know too, just by following me out there on, social media land, that I lost last year. Actually, it was a year prior. Came into last year 50 pounds down, then
Hmm.
lost another 40. So that was a 90-pound weight loss.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got really real with why at 60 I needed to lose that weight and
Hmm.
get back in a zone. I wasn't paying attention to hormones. I was engulfed in grief, overworking, and
Yeah.
anything I could do until I pulled all those curtains back. Could I actually find my purpose for wanting to lose it? Because getting skinny and having an eating disorder and acknowledging that now most of my life wasn't going to do it this time. It
Yeah.
just
No.
wasn't. It was a 3-year struggle before I got really right with health and walking again and being consistent. So I can't wait to hear your story.
Yeah. And I'm celebrating you for coming from this heart space to do your own healing, right? Like that's
Yeah.
it really honestly what it gets down to is this old ways don't work. And so for me, the whole losing and gaining 1,000 pounds came from struggling with food addiction, binge eating, bulimia, and emotional eating really intensively in my early 20s. A couple things that occurred before that that really shaped that experience. When I was 5, my first day on the bus, I get on the bus and the older boys call me fat and ugly, and then everyone makes fun of me. And I really took
Hmm.
that identity on for the next 20 years of my life. My mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis before I was born, and I think a way of her coping was with food. And we revolved everything we did around food. And it was something that I just found to be like a friend from a very young age. And then, of course, you hit your tweens and your teens and you start dieting and comparing yourself to all the photoshopped images in the magazines that there's no disclaimers that they're photoshopped. So you think that there's something wrong with you. And then I had
Yeah.
my first real breakup when I was 21 and I could barely eat and I was so upset. And then I lost weight really quickly, reached my quote unquote goal weight, but it was very hard to attain because I was
Mm.
significantly under eating, over exercising, 2 hours a day. And then my cycle disappeared and just all these weird things started happening with my body. And then the switch flipped and I went to a party and I had my first memorable binge where I ate half of an ice cream cake and like stole a chocolate bar off the counter and ate it in the bathroom. And on the way home, got a bunch of fast food and ate until I was so full I was sick. And that really fueled the all or nothing cycle of binge eating, losing control, eating until I was so full I was sick, and then going to the gym, trying to work out for 2 to 3 hours, skipping breakfast, skipping lunch, this huge compensation of heavy restriction and heavy overconsumption. And then I went through a period of bulimia for 6 months. I was trying to prevent gaining weight, but of course, the really destructive behaviors of that stressed my body out even more. I went through chewing and spitting food. Really, I went through everything except anorexia. And so, for me, that really hit hard for a couple of years where I was just binge eating until I was so full I was sick. I stopped purging. But it just was such a familiarity and comfort zone to be so deep in this self-sabotage with food. But I also had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, where did this come from? I never used to have this issue with this kind of loss of control. And then I
Right.
gained 80 pounds in 4 months. And now that was the heaviest I had ever been and just felt so much embarrassment, shame, guilt. I don't want anyone to see me. The last time people saw me, I looked my best and everyone was telling me how good I looked, that whole thing, right? So there's just all these emotions floating around. And I literally got to the point where I was only revolving my world around food, my binges, trying to lose weight. I didn't want to go out and see anyone. I didn't want to date. I just worked my crappy retail job and hung out at home and binged and watched movies. And so for me,
Mm.
when things really changed or when I kind of had my low point moment was when I had finished a binge. And at this point, I actually could identify that I was binge eating. I didn't know how to deal with it, but I'm like, I now know I am binge eating and emotionally eating.
Mhm.
And I would throw the food in the garbage because obviously I'm not going to go dig through my garbage can and eat food. Like that is just something I'm never going to do. And that particular night, I'd thrown the food in the garbage. It was Oreo cookies, I will never forget. And I was just laying on the couch crying in significant pain, emotional pain, physical pain, because when you binge until you're so full you feel sick, it literally feels like your stomach could explode. Like it's such an uncomfortable feeling. And of course, an hour goes by, the food settles a bit, and then what I call my ego inner critic is like, "Oh, well, just go dig through the garbage and eat the rest of the cookies because this is the last time that you're going to do this." And
Mm.
I did. I went into the kitchen, I pulled the cookies out, ate some of them, sat on the floor in shame, just thinking, I just ate it in my garbage. But then I went a step further and actually threw the cookies and whatever else there was in the dumpster in the back alley and then went out later and dug through there. And I was just like, oh my gosh, honestly, who am I? Like, how did this end up being my life? I just ate out of the back of my garbage in my back alley. Like, what is going on? Why is this happening to me? Nothing is going my way. But I needed that moment to happen because I think this is huge. We get into these comfort zones. And even though I was suffering immensely, physically, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, albeit I didn't realize it yet at the time, it was comfortable. It was familiar to use food as a coping mechanism. It was comfortable to use food as a control mechanism via dieting. It was comfortable to stay where I was, but the suffering was becoming so loud and pronounced. And what
Yeah.
that moment did was it crushed all my fear of going on a journey, of the unknown, of the intimidation factor. If I have 80 pounds to lose, plus I got to figure out how to stop binge eating, like that is I have no knowledge. I went to school to be a broadcast entertainment reporter, let alone like any of this, right? So I knew nothing about anything to do with health. Um, and I was also in a denial. I kept telling myself this, what you're doing isn't a big deal. Food's your friend. You enjoy it. And the denial was also crushed in that moment where I hit that low point. And then I was catapulted into a very deep healing journey, a physical, emotional, mental, energetic, spiritual journey that I spent the next couple of years delving deep into on my own. And that is really what helped me claim what I call food and body freedom. And that is really what inspired me to start my business 12 and a half years ago and specialize in helping women all over the planet, especially the high achieving woman who is overbooked, who is last on her list, who is overwhelmed. She may have all the success in the world. She may have the family, the spouse, all these other things, but she internally, so what is missing is her worth. And she's still battling with herself, with food or her weight. And that is the missing link for her to heal and build. So that is what brought me into this work. And it was looking back now, my dark night of the soul was my biggest blessing because I absolutely love what I do. But that's what brought me here.
Wow. That was a lot. And you did it. So I'm going to go back to where you said, I did it myself. Did you isolate or did you reach out to mentors? Were there facilities? Or did you just start Googling help?
Yeah. So I didn't get help. I had one time where I went to a psychologist, and I'm not downplaying their support, but I went and poured my heart out and shared everything with her. And she looked at me and said, well, just don't go to the store and buy the food. Just love yourself. And I felt very judged. She had never been through it herself. And I'm like, well, how can you help me if you haven't been through this? And I
Right.
left, and that triggered me to binge because I'm like, I feel like she didn't understand anything I was
Right.
going through. So that's what prompted me to go, I'm figuring this out myself. And there was this I know it was like, I feel like my higher self now, but there was this very faint voice that just kept being like, you're going to figure it out. Just take it one step at a time. So I did not seek out any help. I also didn't tell anyone what I was dealing with because I didn't think anyone would understand. And I don't necessarily suggest that, but it's very
Mhm.
vulnerable and it's very tender. And I get the level of shame and embarrassment that women can feel around it, albeit you shouldn't because you're not alone. So essentially, then I started to learn about sugar and that sugar is 10 times more addictive than cocaine. And it's interesting because the first like expert in this that I found was Dr. Mark Hyman, and he was talking about the addictive nature of sugar and how it excites the brain and gives us a dopamine high, and that it's put and designed into food products on purpose to make us addicted, and that the food industry has designed food to be addictive. And that blew my mind because I knew nothing about any of that, and it made me
Mm.
not feel so crazy. And the cool thing is, actually coming full circle, I'm speaking in his membership next week for the whole month of November, so it's kind of cool to like
Mm.
think back to where I was, and now I get to come and like educate his community, which is so amazing. But that was the first thing, with sugar. And then I started to change the way that I ate, because I was also addicted to dairy, the casein, which is the protein in
Mm.
dairy, and the gluten, which is the protein in wheat. They're very altered here in North America. And they were giving me the same kind of high as a drug, just like the sugar. And so I
Mm.
started to really change the way that I ate. And I realized it was deeper than the food when I still wanted to binge on like 10 bananas in a whole jar of peanut butter, or like a
Mm.
whole, container of brown rice pasta and goat cheese. Like it just was, I could just eat and eat and eat. And so I was like, okay, there's things I'm missing. And then I had to get really lovingly authentic with myself and admit I have no healthy ways to cope with stress, and I am horrible at dealing with stress. I don't love myself. In fact, I self loathe myself, obviously, if I'm doing this to myself. I don't know what's triggering me. I need to figure out what my triggers are that are triggering me to binge and emotionally eat. And I want to work on building my self love and self worth, because what I was starting to realize is I had this void, this lack of self love that I was trying to fill with food and the number on the scale and all these external things that were never going to fill an internal void. And I feel like we're so programmed and conditioned to think that something external is going to make you feel worthy and good enough, and nothing external can give you that. It is an inward journey. So I started to make note of everything that was triggering me to emotionally eat. And let me tell you, emotional eating or binge eating is multidimensional. There's not just emotional eating triggers. There are physical emotional eating triggers like hormone issues. There are chemical neurotransmitter emotional eating triggers. There are neural pathway and brain, wiring emotional eating triggers. There's spiritual and energetic triggers. There's certain times of year that will trigger you, or if you're in a certain location or with certain people. And so the fact that we have not been properly educated at all about what emotional and binge eating is and what they're rooted in. And as I started to learn about it, I became so fascinated, because what I realized was my triggers are teachers. They're trying to show me where I'm out of alignment or where there's something to heal. And as I started to build awareness around my triggers and catch them and work through them, it helped me build so much faith and confidence that I could heal. Now, the other thing I was terrified to do was feel my emotions.
Mm.
So I had to work up and muster up the courage. And the first time I was like, Amber, just try and feel for 30 seconds. And I put a timer on for 30 seconds. I felt through fear. I literally thought the world was going to end if I felt anything, and nothing bad happened. And so that also gave me the courage to start feeling through my emotions using things like journaling, breath work, meditation, yoga, self care practices to help me feel and process through my emotions. So, all of that was pivotal in helping me fully overcome these behaviors and leave them behind me and building self love and self worth. So, I really had to work on catching negative self talk, apologizing to and forgiving myself, complimenting myself, starting to repetitively affirm that I love myself and I approve of myself. And it was
Mm.
that repetition of reprogramming my subconscious mind over time, of course, that helped me really feel the self love click. So, those were some of the biggest pieces that helped me break fully free of that I teach to all of my clients. Because I'm
Mm.
not here to help them manage this. Here to help them fully break free and leave it behind them, which is possible. I dislike the rhetoric of like, you're always going to have an eating disorder. You're always going to have an addiction. It's going to always be in the background. No, it's not. If it's addressed properly and you address the roots and you really show up, none
Mm.
of that will be left, because I can speak upon that. And same with all the women that I've worked with. The last piece that was very triggering was discovering, as I healed, my intuition got very strong. I realized I
Mm.
was a very sensitive empath, that I could feel everything, the collective, people around me, the world, whatever. And that was very intimidating, because I could see and feel things that were coming, that were happening, tapping into other people around me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is scary. So I had to learn how to embrace my own intuitive gifts, being an empath, and how to protect my energy and set boundaries. And as I did all of that, it made that part easier. So those are some of the key things that I really had to work on and was challenged with in my healing. And once I stopped those behaviors, then came the healing of the hormones and the gut and the blood sugar and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just so grateful that I got to experience it all because it gives me such a deep understanding of what the women that come to work with me are dealing with. And this is why
Uh,
it's an epidemic.
yeah.
90% of the female population in North America is struggling with some form of body image issue or emotional eating or self-sabotage with food or both. That is an epidemic.
Yeah, I agree. I see it all the time. Thank you for
Mhm.
that. Thank you for sharing so
Yeah.
deeply. I've been saying all week long, it just seems to be like a mantra right now. What if love was the antidote?
Hmm.
And I'm a huge advocate for not only love. This is sitting here looking at me, so we might as well just give her a shout out.
Yeah,
Louise Hayes,
totally.
Hayes mirror work, and it's a huge part of my healing journey as well. And I think that as women, we are not taught to prioritize, that first
No.
cause that we have to show up and claim our health. And it takes only one statement. For me, it was a statement when I was 15. A girlfriend who was a close girlfriend, she had a cousin come and she was at our school and we had our little clique of we gathered in the morning and I was coming down this little hill with my polyester pants because in the 70s that's what you wore. And I was so stylish. But I turned to the side and I was like this thin, but I had hips and I got
Mhm.
those that year. And I'm coming down the hill, and she whispered, her cousin that was there whispered in her ear. And I said, "What did she say?" And she said, "You look like a cow coming over that hill."
Ah,
That's all I heard. That's all I
yeah.
heard for 40 years
Yeah.
is, maybe I could break my hips. I couldn't get skinny enough. If I was, 130, 125, and I'm tall,
Yeah.
that is a ridiculous weight for my size.
Hmm.
And but that's what I strove for years. That's where I stayed for years, but I still had a dysmorphia about the hips, as
Yeah.
broad as a barn, look like a cow. And
Hmm.
I don't have that anymore. It's actually, I think psychologically, my brain actually saw that because I literally I'm 10 pounds over that, 15 pounds over that right now, but I see myself healthy. I don't
Yes.
see that anymore, but I
Yeah.
saw that for 50 years.
Yeah.
50 years I saw those hips and I thought, I remember in my 40s thinking, I wonder if you can break your hips and like have those narrow hips.
Yeah.
But I grew up in an era where I didn't have those images online edited.
Yeah.
So it's a new generation of problems. Would you agree with that? That we are now, I have three daughters, but they're older. They're in their late 30s and late
Yeah.
20s. Um, and I don't want to talk about what they've gone through, but because it's their stories. But saying that being said, they were not on the tail end of the social media
Yeah.
epidemic. Even me out there, I find it hard
Hmm.
to, I don't compete. I really want to support everyone. The minute I start doing the comparison, I back off, I'm out, and I do a timeout on social
Yeah.
media. And it's a tool. I go right to nature.
Totally.
I
I
ground
agree with
myself,
you.
yeah. So what do you say for the women, the mothers, the sisters, the aunts, all the women out there that are listening right now? And they know somebody, like you said, one in
Hmm.
three, I say one in two.
Hmm.
What do you say to them about what they're dealing with out there? The edited pictures where they're taking their
Hmm.
hips and going in, and it's
Yeah.
not real.
Yeah. And I think it's just that it's not real. And again, the subconscious is so powerful. We have been conditioned with billions, maybe even trillions of images, videos into our
Mm,
subconscious that fuel some
yeah.
of this dysmorphia, or someone's made comments to you or poked at your stomach when you were a kid or whatever it was. But
Yeah.
it's
It
not,
just takes one comment, and
I
that's what
know,
people need
one
to know. And
comment.
the subconscious
Yes.
grabs a hold of it and says, "This is our MO for however long before you want
Yeah,
to reprogram it. We're going with this."
exactly.
Because it was like, boom, oh my gosh, is that the way the
Yeah.
world sees me? And the way
Yeah.
the world saw me externally is how I saw myself.
Totally.
I don't do that, but it is a process of healing, of going
Yes.
out. And when you started and when you created Body Freedom, tell me what that Body Freedom is all about.
Yeah, so body freedom is really about addressing the roots, what I call multidimensionally, to help you feel free in your body and with food and really come home to yourself and love yourself. And so that is the aspect of addressing and fully healing and overcoming whatever self sabotage with food you're dealing with, whether it's food addiction, bulimia, binge eating, emotional eating to whatever extent. It is also about healing and clearing any diet addiction or diet mentalities and food fears that you have, because that can all fuel these behaviors. It is about being willing over time to lovingly detach from
Mhm.
the number on the scale and your worth and build that worth within and realize I am more than a number. All the number on the scale measures is your full mass at gravity. Nothing else about you that is miraculous. So we need to detach from that. So we do rewiring with that. Body freedom is also about, like I said, learning to feel your emotions, learning how to prioritize yourself. So many women feel incredibly guilty
Mhm.
prioritizing themselves and taking time for themselves. That is a paradigm we must shift. Women and men are wired differently hormonally, and the hustle
Yeah.
thing doesn't work for women and their hormones. It's why I see so many women in their 20s and 30s already perimenopausal and menopausal because they're drained and they're depleted. So, body freedom is also about identifying the roots of your hormone imbalances, your deficiencies, inflammation, blood sugar, gut issues, and about naturally working on bringing those things into regulation. But how we do that is by shifting your mindset, your thoughts, and your beliefs of yourself and how you show up in your life. So, healing people pleasing, healing all or nothing imperfection, improving, and helping you build your worth. So, you set healthy boundaries, you say no when it's a no, you feel safe asking for help, you feel confident in taking that time for yourself, and you
Mhm.
truly become so attuned to your body, to your higher self, your intuition, like all these pieces. And that to me is what body freedom is. And it really helps women fully step into the pieces of them that they've always dreamed of being, but they haven't been able to access.
Mm, I love that. And I'm a huge advocate of that. But how do you feel? It just dropped in some of that. How do you feel
Mhm.
about GLPs? Are they
I
helpful,
knew you were going to
harmful?
ask that.
Yeah.
Harmful state. Like when it comes to weight loss and trying to use it for any kind of emotional relationship with food, stay away from it. It's another band-aid. It is going to cause some potential serious side effects. Some people are having life-threatening side effects like eye loss, eyesight loss. They can't stop losing weight, serious muscle loss, osteopenia, osteoporosis, bone loss. It has a significant negative impact on your metabolism, your thyroid and hormone function. Because it shuts everything off, it shuts off your ability to feel and feel hungry. And as soon as you come off of it, those hunger levels skyrocket and it's triggering binge eating or overeating or amplifying any previous behaviors that you had. Once you stop using it, the weight comes on a lot more easily and then more because you've inhibited your metabolism and stressed out your hormones. So to me, it's just another shiny gimmick. It is a blood sugar medication. And what's interesting about that is I've had women who have been told that a GLP-1 is the only thing that will help their glucose come down or their insulin or their hemoglobin A1C because they're pre-diabetic. And then we do 2 to 3 months of healing their relationship with food, getting their cortisol down, having them take blood sugar supporting supplements and eating in a way that is supportive of that. And then it comes down naturally. So even with some of the like hype on blood sugar, I'm just like, there's actually so much we can do aside from that.
Mhm. So are you actually seeing people right now that have done that and gone their weight got back up?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I wasn't aware of the that's interesting, the neither bone density, but the eye
Hmm.
vision loss. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's just a lawsuit filed. 1,500 people just filed a huge lawsuit against Ozempic for eyesight loss. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
you can't
huge.
mess with nature. That's what I always say.
Mm. So, what are some misconceptions about emotional eating? This gets thrown around a lot. I'm
Hmm.
emotional. I just ate some ice cream. I'm hormonal. I got to have my sugar. What are misconceptions about emotional eating?
Yeah, I really think that there's this huge perception that it's like this girl sitting on her bed eating a box of chocolates because she's sad. And of course, sadness is an
Yeah.
emotional eating trigger. I think there's a lot of assumption around, oh, you're weak, you're lazy, you don't have any willpower. You just need to eat well and exercise, like calories in, calories out. That's how you lose weight and keep it off when emotional eating is so much deeper. I think as well, it's also been normalized to emotionally eat. It's
Mm.
encouraged and enabled in commercials and movies to
Mm.
overeat, be proud of overeating. There's competitive eaters on YouTube eating insane amounts of food and they have millions of subscribers. So
Mm.
it's like there's this whole kind of blurred lines between like what is mindful and what is this crazy reality where we are abusing our bodies and hurting our bodies.
Wow.
I also think that it's not taken seriously enough in the regard of a lot of healthcare practitioners, and I think it's just because there's a lack of education, which I'm going to work on trying to change in the future. Is if
Mhm.
you don't understand emotional eating or any kind of emotional relationship with food, and you don't ask your client or your patient if they're dealing with any of that, there's this, frustration of the practitioner patient of how come your gut isn't improving, your blood sugar's not getting better, your hormones aren't improving, like this protocol should be working, how come it's not? And then the patient is too uncomfortable to open up and say, well, because I'm binge eating and I'm losing control and I feel like I'm failing. And so I think there's a lot of judgment and like assumption that we should just have willpower. And it's not about any of that. Like this is so deep rooted. And binge and emotional eating are truly deep rooted in all other health issues that women and men are dealing with. And if it's not addressed, it
Mm.
amplifies all of those other things. So how can we heal, autoimmune conditions, thyroid issues, adrenal issues, low progesterone? How can we overcome all these things if you
Right.
are fighting with your body and food?
Oh, I completely agree with that. I've had a lifetime of fighting with my body and food. And I didn't even acknowledge that until I probably didn't even wasn't even aware of it till really my 40s.
Hmm.
But food was a total control mechanism,
Yeah,
how I controlled my life.
totally.
And, when you're thin, everyone thinks you look great when you said that, and then you tend to go into the hiding when
Yeah.
you gain the weight, and it was just a series. I may go back and try to see how much I've lost and gained, like,
Hmm.
guesstimate, because that 1,000, pound was really had an impact on me, and I thought, I bet they're somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but in the hundreds, definitely in the hundreds. So, what does it look like to actually build body confidence? Um I'm gonna ask a different question. What is a key limiting belief? I'm gonna start it. What is a key limiting belief that you believe that keep women stuck in a dieting and guilt behavior?
Yeah. Uh, it's the only way. It's what I was taught. I'm not good enough. I can't date. I can't grow my business. I can't raise my prices. I can't ask for a raise. I can't feel safe being intimate with my partner until I lose weight, until I have control with food, until X. And so it's like women put their life on hold because
Until
they
they
feel
get skinny.
so incredibly insecure in their bodies.
Right.
And even if there's no weight to lose, it is picking part of their body apart, or it's again, the embarrassment or the shame or the guilt around the overconsumption of food. And then they feel bloated and they feel icky and they project on their partners as it causes conflict. And so I feel like those are some of the limiting beliefs. So it's really is the like, once I lose this weight or feel this way, then I will live my life fully.
Yeah.
And
I
then
just did I
we,
did a keynote on that not too long
yeah.
ago. 2 years this is crazy because I'm getting
Hmm.
ready to do the keynote again,
Oh,
and we're
nice.
going over the, just today, we were going my team and I were going over the, slides, and I looked at the 2 pictures we had up there,
Hmm.
and that was in the middle of my weight loss, and I'm like,
Mm,
"Oh, no, no, we need to put the current pictures up there."
yeah.
And she said, "How do you feel about leaving these?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, we can't leave those." And I was a little bit triggered.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I thought, "I don't like those." In fact, but I kept it. I didn't wipe anything clean,
Hmm.
but I thought, "Maybe I'm gonna compromise. Let's leave one, and then let's change the bottom one to current."
Yeah.
And, but I had to look at that and it took me back. And then there
Mm,
was a video of me talking, and I'm like, "Look how full my face is."
mm,
And, and I haven't put fillers in my face, but someone said recently, "Oh, you look so much younger when your face is full." So there was
mm.
another trigger. "Oh, do I
Yeah.
go get
Yeah.
fillers in my face?" No, I'm 61 years old. I'm not putting fillers in my face. I
Yeah.
just I just choose not to. I just
Yeah.
don't wanna do that. If I
Hmm.
change I haven't done that yet. I may change my mind. I may do
Hmm.
it, but because I want to, not because society thinks I
Yeah.
need to. I think that's really important, and when I liked when you said that about key limiting beliefs, that they have an idea of themselves that is outside of themselves, that it wasn't created in here.
No, not
Because
at
I think
all.
we come into this world with so much abundance, just pure love and light,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
the only fears we have are the fear of loud noises, the fear of
Yeah.
falling, and then all of a sudden we've got eating disorders and binging and
Yeah.
overeating and bulimia, all this control.
Yeah.
What's the one, maybe 2 tips you can give the listeners right now? Just pulling that back and saying, "Man, these are the top 2 things that absolutely they're part of my core being that I never abandon in this process."
100%. So the first one was really getting honest with myself before I went to food, which you guys can all do too, and ask yourself, is this physical hunger? Am I actually hungry or is this emotional? Because
Mhm.
90% of the time it is emotional. And then try to leave the food as soon as you can and go and reflect and go, okay, what is going on? What am I feeling? Why am I triggered? Because when you start to ask yourself that, you pattern interrupt. And that's going to
Mm.
actually help you start to build a new pattern in the brain and a new level of awareness of why. The second thing was starting slow, but building up that time to feel through emotions and to reassure myself that I am safe. This is uncomfortable. I don't like being uncomfortable, but I am safe. There's no threat to my life right now. While I feel this, I am safe. And to just breathe or to get outside and get some sunshine, get your feet in the grass, and to really take a little bit of time to feel because that
Mm.
urge will pass. But having that courage to feel through and know that you
Mm.
can do it and that nothing bad is going to happen is to me just absolutely life changing and being willing to taking the time to
Yeah.
feeling and processing through.
I love that. I'm a huge walker, and I think anytime I am
Yeah.
restless or overthinking, I'm out the door. It's just
Yep.
like, it grounds me back into my body,
Yeah.
you know.
Totally.
And we were just talking before we started about walking the Camino. And what was so interesting about that is, we would every few hours, the way I walked it, we had support where there would be snacks and all those things. But I chose to pick a lot of grapes along the way. I
Oh,
walked from
yeah.
Porto to Santiago, and it was
Nice.
I mean, it was incredible. I'm just picking these incredible. Then I had a bag of grapes. Then I've got bags of grapes for everybody because I think these grapes are so, and they're like, are those poisonous? And I'm like, poisonous? What are they said you can't eat, those are wine grapes. You can't eat them. I'm like, "Am-" I grew up in California. I'm like, am I even hearing
Yeah.
this? Am I hearing this? But they were all waiting for the processed food to come. Not all of them, not all
Oh,
of them,
yeah,
but
fair
some of
enough.
them,
Yeah.
just the snacks that were,
Yeah.
safer, better. But I loved those grapes. I would just pull them out when I was hungry, and I think I did 10 days. Every
Wow.
day, I just come into the valley of grapes, different varieties, and it was there was something healing and cathartic about that. Walking, eating grapes, water, walking, eating grapes,
Hmm.
fish, water, eating to fuel my body.
Yeah.
And anytime I wanted to grab the snacks where I was feeling a little anxious, I'm looking at a huge heel. There was one time that it was huge, and I'm like, "Do I have enough protein on board? Do I have enough carbs on board?" I'm like, "Of course you do. You just had a huge breakfast, eggs, all the things."
Yeah.
But it was an emotional. I was frightened,
Totally.
and I thought, "I don't know if I could do that." But I did it, and I didn't, pack my backpack with tons of food. I just
Yeah.
brought
That's
my grapes.
amazing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it is a definite shift and as I was walking, every step I took, I decided after, like, the 2nd day, I'm gonna start putting some ideas down about how I think about food,
Yeah.
how I think about this last 2 years of losing this weight, how important it is for some, how others never even saw the weight and don't see the weight loss now. Some people didn't view me through that lens, and how I view myself through such a different lens now. How do you see yourself now in that lens
Mm. Just with
versus
such,
how you said it before,
yeah.
how you saw
Yeah.
yourself before?
Such compassion, honestly, and gratitude. I'm so grateful that my body gave me a second chance for everything that I put her through,
Yeah.
and so much compassion. And when I see old photos, now instead of judgment, I'm like, wow, like now that I know everything I do about hormones and everything, like no wonder I was swollen and puffy. No wonder my body was hanging on to protection because my body was trying to protect me because she didn't feel safe and weight is a protective mechanism. So just so much compassion and gratitude and appreciation because she's always teaching me and it's allowing me to deepen my mastery, which allows me to help my women on a deeper level. So that's what comes in now.
Mm.
And the beauty of that with worth and love and that compassion is you don't compare yourself anymore and you become detached from the external world and all the trends and all the things because you're
Yeah.
just so happy and grateful, like living in the body
Yeah.
that you do. And I think that's such a peaceful place to come to.
Yeah. For the listeners that are struggling right now, I know the people are listening to this right now, they might be deeply struggling.
Hmm.
What can you say to them that would bring them to have more love and compassion for their body? Maybe allow them to reach out for help, or
Yeah.
perhaps even do it like you did it.
Yeah. So
Start, yeah.
yeah, I think the first thing is try to have compassion and grace for yourself. You're
Mm.
doing the best you can in this moment, and your body is truly miraculous. And even through how you're feeling right now, she is still,
Mhm.
keeping you alive, digesting your food, your heart is beating, blood is pumping through your veins. Like maybe you've had kids. Like think of all the miraculous things your body has done for you that maybe you haven't spent enough time giving her credit for. Can you sit and write 5 things you're grateful for about yourself to just kind of shift that energy and shift the focus? 5 things you're grateful for in your life. And then I think part of it is going like, if you've honestly been struggling with this for years or decades, I would highly encourage you to reach out for support because this is a multifaceted, very complex journey. And it's not willpower or a diet that is going to fix this. It is about doing the
Mm,
deeper work. And then I think
amen
for
to
those
that.
that want to like dip their toe in and try and learn a bit on their own first, podcasts are great resources. Join free workshops, like be in the community where there are practitioners and teachers that you feel comfortable and connected to learning from so that
Yeah.
you can start to build awareness. And then
Mhm.
that starts to help you take steps on this journey, right? But just be willing to take a step today. What are you willing to do for yourself to take a step on this journey?
That is so good. I was looking at what, emotional eating isn't about food. It's about the parts of you that that are asking to be healed.
Hmm.
You can't hate your body into loving it. I just, oh, so, so true. Oh, I love you sharing this today. And I just know I can feel it just resonating and I know it's going to help. I just feel that vibrational, helpful energy. Hey, where can people find you? Tell me
Yeah.
about what you
So,
got coming up. I know you said Mark Harmon, you're gonna be teaching in his
yeah.
community soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Next
I
week. I'm
love
so
him.
excited about that. I know it just, yeah, it's a blessing and an honor. And so people can find me on my website, which is amberapproved.ca. If you're wondering if you're struggling with emotional eating, I have a free quiz you can take that will then offer you some podcasts and some awesome free resources to check out to just help you build some awareness on your journey. Is if you want to reach out for support, I offer a 30-minute body freedom consultation. It's complimentary on Zoom. Anyone in the world's welcome to reach out. We can talk about you and your journey, what you're struggling with, your goals, and maybe why a different approach could be exactly what you need. And we also do things like hormone testing. I think that's a big thing that like women need is to actually know what's going on hormonally in their body as well. The podcast is called the No Sugarcoating Podcast. We have over 620 episodes, so you can go and check it out. It will really be helpful if you've loved our chat today. And then I'm on social media, Instagram, and it's my name, Amber Romaniuk, Romaniuk.
Amber in the house today. Love your energy, love your vibe, love that you took the leap to heal and you're paying it forward every day. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
doing what you do. It's important stuff. It's important work in the
Thank you.
world, you
Thank
know.
you. My pleasure. And thank you for having me and for doing what you're doing. We've got big commitments to heal the planet.
Big commitments. And
Yes.
2026 is, we talked about it before. 2026 is a big healing year. It's going to be a
Yes.
big healing year.
Yes.
I'm personally so excited. Yeah.
Likewise.
Amber, thank you. Everyone for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you download this episode, share it with a friend. And until next time, this is the Dana Grant Show signing off. Bye, everyone.